Joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show is Tom Crean. How are you, Coach?
I'm great, Rich. Great to be with you.
Great to have you here on this show. What does this Sweet 16 appearance mean for you in this program, in your estimation?
I think it means that there's a consistency level here above all else, because the bottom line is when we went a few years back, and we went back-to-back when Cody Zeller was a freshman and sophomore and things of that nature, then we lost the second pick in the draft in Victor Oladipo, the fourth pick in the draft in Cody Zeller, three seniors that were doing a lot of things. And it's not that easy to just turn around and get back. But the bottom line is we've continued to improve, continued to recruit well, and they've developed at a really high level. And it says something about the consistency of the staff that we have and the support that's put in place and the way the administration is, all those things. So, I mean, you got to have everything in place to win, and then the players and the coaches got to work together like crazy, and that's exactly what's happened. And we've been fortunate along the way with some close victories. But the bottom line is the work ethic in this program and the development of them and of the guys has helped make these things happen on a good level.
Last week I had Kenny Smith on the show and asked him, previewing the tournament as a whole, who the best players, if not best player in the tournament was for him. And he mentioned Yogi Ferrell as one of the first people out of his mouth, your senior leader on this team. From your perspective, what has Yogi, what has his journey been like to see what he has done right now and means for this team?
Well, he came in a winner, which was huge, because he won back-to-back state championships in his sophomore year. He lost in the finals. So his freshman year, he's on a team that's number one in the country, 11, 12 weeks, whatever it was, and goes to the Sweet 16. So he's always had the winning pedigree. But what he's done now over a period of time is he's really taken the leadership to another spot with how much he involves his teammates. He's one of the smartest players that I've ever coached, and understands the game at an extremely high level. And sometimes when guys understand it like that, they're not as great at sharing it with their teammates, and he is. He's really grown into that the last 3 months or so of really taking them along for the ride, because he knows that the better they are, the better he will be. And I think in turn he's had a lot of fun with it, because it's made him so much better. And so whether it's the extra film work, he's always been a guy that did extra work on the court, but the extra film work, the extra time spent with the players off the court in basketball situations, not just social situations, but that's the stuff that builds a bond, because he brings a lot of confidence to these guys. And I think the greatest thing for him, he in turn has gotten a lot of confidence back from them.
So now comes North Carolina. What are the challenges from the Tar Heels face you, Coach Crean? What do you think?
Well, Kentucky obviously was a huge challenge, and even going into the Chattanooga game, we had to deal with their length, the changing of defenses, the consistency of play, and the way that they got to the glass. So the Big Ten prepares you for that. There's no doubt about it. But I'm not sure we've had any preparation for the amount of speed we're going to see from North Carolina and their ability to get up and down the court. They're a high-volume shooting team because they're a high-volume possession team, and they're averaging 82 points when they win, 72 when they lose. Usually teams, when they lose, are somewhere in the 60s. But they're averaging more in the loss than most teams would ever get in a game. So the bottom line is they get a lot of possessions. And the biggest thing and the greatest thing that they do, and it's probably the best team we'll have seen thus far, and this is their offensive rebounding. We did an excellent job of being cognizant of Kentucky the other day and did a really good job of blocking them out. And we're going to have to do an even better job in this one. And then we're going to have to deal, with their length. And they want to get up and pressure you, deny you. I have to believe they're going to try to take Yogi out of the game somehow. And we've got to be able to overcome all of that and not get away from our running game at all, but also understand that there's certain things we can take advantage of in this game if we're patient enough to do it. So we've had a really good week. We haven't overdone it. We'll practice Wednesday before we leave for Philadelphia, and the bulk of the work was done on Tuesday and on Monday with preparation. So we're excited for it, but I think nobody's watching the film and seeing any easy path. I mean, we know that we're going to have to play very, very well and very, very sound defensively and on the glass.
Indiana head coach Tom Crean joining me here prior to a Sweet 16 game against UNC, the top seed in the East, joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's get into the personal here. Let's talk about Trey Schwab, Coach. I mentioned it to my listening and viewing audience moments ago. your longtime assistant at Marquette, a double lung transplantee from 12 years ago. He just passed away this weekend, and I'm wondering how do you balance this sort of thing?
Well, I think last week was really hard, and because we knew he wasn't healthy, obviously, but he ended up getting the flu, and at the same time, is in the hospital. He found out that he wasn't going to get his lung transplant because he needed another double lung transplant and a kidney transplant, and those are very, very tough situations, and it's not a big market, for there's people that need them, and it's not a huge market for them, and when I got a hold of him and found out on Thursday how grave it was it became, even talking to him, it's so centered on what you're doing and on going out and playing and all the different things. I mean, not any real focus on him. And so what I tried to make sure of in my own way, and I know others were doing it, is get a hold of people that really mattered to him and he mattered to them. And guys like our former players like Travis Diener, Dwayne Wade, Steve Novak, other coaches, things of that nature that had been a part of his life. And I really spent some of that time doing that. And my wife and I got a chance to talk to him that Thursday and prayed with him at the end of the conversation. And the thing that I'm most proud of is that I have no doubt he was ready to meet God when that time came. And it was supposed to come on Thursday afternoon. Well, lo and behold, the guy that he is, the odds that he's defied all his life, especially with his health situation, he made it to Sunday. And I don't think he got to see. I know he wanted to see our games. And we talked about it, talked to him every day, a couple times a day. And by the end, it was not easy for him to talk anymore. But at least I got to tell him again how much I loved him. But I think it's hard, but I think at the same time, when you have a friendship like that and you look at it and you see how much he tried to help other people, even in his gravest times, you can't get down about that. I mean, you miss him, but you know that he was ready to go. He was ready to meet God, and he was ready to not be in pain anymore, and was able to be able to go breathe, because at the end he really couldn't hardly breathe anymore. So I miss him. I mean, and we're going to miss him. And when we eulogize him here in a week and a half or so, when it is, it'll get that much harder because everybody will be around. But he inspired people much like anybody I've ever met, and because he did it when he was at his worst. And that's really, really hard for people to do. But he's got a gift for it, and thankful that he was in our life as long as he was.
Yeah, and you went way back with him, back to the Marquette days with Dwayne Wade.
Absolutely.
How much do you keep in touch with Dwayne and seeing him go on what is arguably a Hall of Fame basketball career?
Oh, quite a bit, quite a bit. And the other day, not knowing anybody's schedule, because I found out all about this on Thursday morning, and I'm on our way to the practice that day and the game day shoot around, right? And so it's hitting me hard, and at the same time, I want to have people that have a chance to say goodbye to him. Mm-hmm. So Dwayne picks right up, the other guys pick right up. They all get a hold of him. So we've had a chance to talk about that a little bit. But I talked to Dwayne about different things. You never stop being their coach. I mean, he's got a great coach in Eric Spoelstra, so it's not the X's and O's as much as it's the reminders and just the friendship quality that you develop with those guys. And they all have families now. And so to me, that's the beauty of it. But that was a special time. And I did say this to him the other day. That time at Marquette was a very special time for us because none of us really realized how much we were inspiring each other for the future. And here's a guy like Trey Schwab. We used this all the time back then. You didn't get to have a bad day at Marquette. This guy lost 117 pounds in 11 months to prepare himself to have a chance to get a lung transplant. That's without even knowing he would get one. But when he first went on the list, he wasn't close to a candidate. I mean, he wasn't, they're not giving those out to people that are not prime candidates, and he needed to lose the weight. And he did it. And there's the same guy that when he got that lung transplant, a little over a week later, a blood clot formed, and he went on the table, and he was gone for 40 minutes plus. And they brought him back. I mean, so when you get around people like that, they can't help but make you better because you don't get to sit there and wallow in your own self-pity and your own problems when you got somebody like that in your life that's going through just such life and death altering experiences. And I think we all learned something about that back then, and we were reminded of that again this past weekend.
Yeah. Indiana basketball head coach Tom Crean joining me here. And you mentioned your wife, Joni Crean, née Harbaugh. And I guess the question I have for you is, what is it like being at the holidays with the Harbaughs, Tom? Just
we don't get many of them, Rich. That's the one thing that the together times are really not the holidays as much as people would think, because everybody's in their respective seasons.
Right. So it's off seasons. Is that when you guys get together?
It's just different times. I mean, and it's really rare when everybody is together, right? But when we played at Michigan in February, John was there. Jim was there, obviously, because he had his signing day party the next day. Joni wasn't actually at it. Joni's mom and dad were there. But when everybody gets together, it's really good. But even when everybody's not together, it's like the other person's not missing, right? Because they're just talking about them. But it's fun to have a family like that, and they've included me from the beginning as a member of that family, and we've been married 20-plus years and have 3 children. But there's just you can't help but walk out of there when you're around Jim. Okay, first off, he's one of the smartest people. He and John are 2 of the smartest people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
You can't help but have another dose of confidence, inspiration, energy, whatever it is, when you're around him. And John's the same way. And those guys are such heartfelt, caring, passionate, empathetic leaders. Sometimes Jim doesn't get the credit for that, but that's truly what he is. And to me, that's the bottom line, and they're both like that. I was just reading a story in USA Today on a column on John and what he's dealing with losing the player the other day in the dirt bike accident, and that just speaks volumes of John. When you read the story, of what kind of leader he is. But I got the best one now. I got the best looking one, and I got the most competitive one.
Right? Who's got it better than you, Tom? Right? To use
nobody.
Exactly.
Nobody.
Who's got it better than you?
Nobody.
Hey, listen, good luck to you against North Carolina. And it's been great chatting with you and hearing the inspiration that is going on with you personally and your team, and getting into the Sweet 16 and taking on a top seed on Friday in Philadelphia. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it, Rich. I really do. It's great to be on with you.
Thank you. Same here.
Thank you.
Tom Crean.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.